What's happening, people? Welcome back. It's Tottenham versus Newcastle this weekend in South Korea, and I'm delighted to be joined by an opposition fan, Toon Tactics. Mate, firstly, how are you doing? And secondly, talk to people a little bit about what you do.
Harry, they're always a privilege to be here, always a privilege to be invited onto your show. Yeah, my name is Philip. I'm the founder and host of Toon Tactics TV, which is a Newcastle United fan channel. It's been going on for nearly 2 years now, so having lots of fun. Great, I've got a great chat, great focus on it as well. Harry actually was one of the first people that I did a joint project with, which was absolutely phenomenal. And I reached out to him when I had like barely 10 subscribers or something like that. So big up to you, Harry, for that. And yeah, we're looking forward to our conversation today.
Thank you for giving us your time today. Honestly, it was a pleasure to be involved in that project. I was speaking to you the other day about it. Really good project, and it's just an honour to be asked. So thank you, and keep up your amazing work. But like I said, thanks for joining us today. It should be a good one.
Yeah.
If you're new to the channel, please do like and subscribe. If you're listening on a podcast platform, please do drop us a follow and a 5-star review. Also, let us know where you're listening from, what country, location, etc., etc. But let's get straight into it. The first question I want to ask you, the first kind of topic, is around transfer window, which will be a big part, I'm sure, lots of podcasts, shows, videos that you're doing with Newcastle at the moment. So what are your thoughts on the window so far?
Yeah, I mean, we always rank a window in terms of who you buy, who you sell, and who you keep. So it's we're keeping all our stars at the moment. If anyone looks at today's news, we'll talk about that a little bit later in regards to Alexander Isak. So we're keeping all of our stars at the moment. We've obviously we've bought now Elanga, who's for a key position, and now Ramsdale as our keeper. I think he might end up being number one. So he's a ball playing goalkeeper who've been looking for a while. Obviously, what's infamous at the moment is the record number of rejections Newcastle have faced in terms of the players they've been looking for, which is which is interesting to watch. But what I do like about it, because people always ask me about, do you think the strategy of what Newcastle are doing, their approach to this transfer window, is a good one? And I think it is. And if I was to say, we're looking at elite players that other elite clubs want, and I think it's better to do that rather than look at mediocre players or players not of that quality that nobody wants. I could say, yeah, we bought 5 players, but are they the players that are going to take us forward? Probably not. So I still like the approach. We still need a couple of positions to be filled. At centre back, I would like a midfielder and another striker, possibly 2. So it's going okay. It's going okay. It could go better, but we're hanging in there.
Yeah, it could be a lot worse, as you said there. I mean, it's got a little bit better, hasn't it, with that Ramsdale signing? But if your transfer window closed tonight, what would you rate it out of 10?
Great question. If it closed tonight, what it would mean is in our front line would still have Isak, would have a Sola. I would be at least one forward short. In the midfield, probably would be one midfielder short, and our centre backs would be nearly 100 years in combined ages. So we need to upgrade that. But we have a new goalkeeper. What would I grade it? I'm not going to use 7 because everyone uses 7. It would be around 4, 5. So not great.
Yeah, I think that'd be fair to
Yeah.
say. I think that's
Yeah.
being kind. But I want to ask you about Ramsdale. What are your thoughts on that signing?
Yeah. If you compare him to what we've got at the moment in terms of Pope, who's a great shot stopper, but just not great with his feet. Whereas Ramsdale is a lot better with his feet. Now I know there's tons of clips of him not doing very, very well with his feet, but the overall thing with his feet, which is why he was at Arsenal in the first place, that he is good with his feet, a little bit better than a Pope. Newcastle really are keen on being able to play out from the back and to be able to use the goalkeeper almost like an outfield player. So you've got 2 centre backs that split like that, and then you've got the goalkeeper going like through the middle like that, just adding that extra layer of extra outfielder for at least that moment in time to bring the ball out. whereas before we couldn't do it, and teams could just press us really well, set up a mid blocks, and it forced our midfield to drop back. It forced our forwards to left a big gap between our forwards and our midfields. So in essence, like if I look at the intention behind Ramsdale, if you forget all the fact that he's been relegated with 4 teams and all of this other stuff, is he a ball playing goalkeeper? He is. Is he a Premier League goalkeeper? He is. So he's better than what we've had, and he's going to allow us to play in the way that we want. So overall, I'm happy with it. I'm looking forward to seeing how we look with him, especially playing out from the back. And this might be his redemption story. He's 27 years old, like he's very, very young. One might say that he's experienced a lot of ups and downs, and he might look at this opportunity at Newcastle and being able to play in Champions League as like, I've been through it all now. I've played at Arsenal, I've been relegated 4 times, and now I'm at Newcastle. Like, so he brings a lot of experience with him. Let's see what happens.
I totally agree with you. I think that I looked at it first. Really, is that what Newcastle are doing? But you talk about his ability to play up from the back. The more you think about it as well, it starts to make sense. I think this could be a really big move for Ramsdale. Like you said, one that maybe stays a little bit longer at his career, because typically, he goes from one club to another, and it's, as you said, up to down. So I think he'll really get on well. But I had to mention, you've already brought it up. You've done it to yourself. Ramsdale has been relegated from the Premier League in 3 of the past 5 seasons with 3 different clubs. Does this concern you at all? And I'm afraid I've got to ask. I don't think it'll be the case, but will Newcastle be next?
No, I've already experienced 2 relegations. I can't take any more. No, I can't remember the teams he's been with. Sheffield United, I think, Southampton. I can't remember the third team, but I think
Bournemouth?
it's all. Oh yeah, Eddie Howe's Bournemouth. Yeah. It was Eddie Howe's Bournemouth. So at least 2 or 3 of those teams, people would have expected it. It's not. I think the shocker would have been if he was, if he was with the top 8 teams and he's always getting relegated. I'm like, sheesh, this is warrior, right? So I think he's just been with those teams, and that's what's happened. Nobody wants to mention that he was with Arsenal when chasing titles with Arsenal. So. True. Does that mean we're going to chase titles this season? So there's the other side of the coin to that. So I look at it as experience. So yeah,
that's a good way to look at it. I just had to put it in there, obviously, ex-Arsenal
of course
as well. But I think you get on well. I'm going to ask you though about James Trafford, because obviously it was you were talked to apparently, and it's now gone to Man City. Said that didn't they buy option clause, ended up getting a lot lower anyway. Priority I think they had. Are you disappointed to miss out on him?
Yes, for the fact that we've looked at him for a year, and there's a multitude of reasons why it didn't happen. And it is on us for it not happening to a degree. Man City literally only changed their minds about him in the last 2 weeks and decided, we'll take Trafford. And there was like a first priority and like a sell-on clause on it as well, which was to Man City, which made the deal easier for them. If I was Trafford though, and someone might say this is bitter grapes, but I don't know. I'm just being observant. If I was Trafford, I would though think that the club that's chased you for over a year clearly really, really rate you and clearly really, really want you. And he would have been number 1 for us. The club that decided in the last 2 weeks, we'll take you, probably will also, if they decide they don't want you after 2 weeks, might also feel the same way and drop you as well. So, but it is Man City. They're 4-peat winners. They're treble winners. They've created a massive legacy for themselves, and I don't blame him for making that decision, to be honest. So, good luck to him.
No, it's a good way of looking at it. It's easy to be better, isn't it? But it's frustrating, I suppose, that it's football. But I'm a little bit surprised by his decision, unless maybe he thought he wouldn't be number 1 at Newcastle, or maybe he'd be number 1 at Man City. Maybe he thought that Ederson would be out of the 2 goalkeepers, that him and Ortega to leave. We heard, didn't we, that they'd definitely move at least one out. It looks like now it's going to be Ortega that will leave. At one point, it did look like Ederson, so maybe there's a bit more to it. But hey ho, I want to talk about though Alexander Isak, because as you said yourself, big headline today, and it was saga that probably been going on for a while. but he's been heavily linked to Liverpool. We've got reported bids, improved bids. So would you like to firstly tell people the latest and how you feel as well about the situation?
Yeah, so today the news broke initially in the morning from David Ornstein that Liverpool have made an approach to Newcastle, an official approach this time, for Alexander Isak. He hadn't given the price at the time, and later emerged from Ben Jacobs. I think now the total package is about 110 million. Make of that what you will. And so that was the first thing that happened. Literally about, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes later, Newcastle reports came out that Newcastle flatly rejected it. And then another 10, 15 minutes later, Liverpool through Ornstein and then again Ben Jacobs. I've never seen Ben Jacobs write a longer paragraph in my life. If anyone ever has the time to see it today, you've never seen a longer paragraph on it, outlining all the reasons as to what happened. And he said that Liverpool aren't going to make a second bid. They are surprised at how quickly and how the force of the no. It must have been. I wish I could have read the email or whoever spoke on the phone to them. I would have been. I wish I was the fly on the wall in that one. But apparently, it's what deterred them from making the second bid. I suspect, and we can go through it, that there's a lot more to this than meets the eye in terms of the bid itself. Well, yeah, essentially that's what's happened today. And my overall feeling of it is that it's not even just about Liverpool fans. It's about like the transfer window in general. And I think, I think it's a battle for narrative, and truth dies very quickly. So agents, clubs, use the likes of big names like Ornstein and Fabrizio Romano, and like really to a big way in influencing what the narrative is. I mean, Fabrizio the other day, I'm going on a bit, but like Fabrizio the other day was even saying Newcastle have to be careful about how they treat players, or if they keep players that want to go, otherwise people that wouldn't want to come. And I'm like, Fab, aren't you just meant to report the news, Fab? Or are you trying to put more pressure on Newcastle? Who's paying you, or who's influencing you to put this pressure on Newcastle? Now, all I can ask people, I do it for myself, is whatever the source, whatever information comes in, I always ask, who's the likely person to have leaked this information? And you probably answer with the next question, which is, who's it going to benefit the most, and the timing of it. So I'm sure you'll ask me, but in terms of like the bid itself, I almost feel like I look at it as it's a bid, but it's not a bid. Like I almost feel like Liverpool did it. I'll end it on this. Yesterday, Alex Crook, Alex Crook from Talk Sports. So
Yeah.
he's very good friends, like best friends of Richard Hughes, the director of Liverpool, the one who's leading the charge for Isak. And Alex Crook saying sources from Liverpool, so your best mate, are saying that this is before the bid today, but you know that there was an approach previously, and he was saying, listen, Liverpool did not leak this information to anybody. It was Isak and his camp. They didn't do anything. We're not going to. Liverpool aren't going to bid blind. They don't know the price. Everybody, their dog, their grandmother, everybody knows what price Newcastle have put on Isak. It's 150 million. Everybody knows. But he said, no, Liverpool aren't going to bid blind. We've got nothing to do with this. We don't think anything's going to happen. Literally the next day, Liverpool bid. Alex Cook says, I'm even surprised they bid. I think he's surprised because there wasn't supposed to be a bid. And I think there's a lot more going on in terms of the owners of Liverpool who know our owners, they do business together, and that there's people aren't overly happy about what's happened with Isak themselves. So there's a lot going on there. My assumption is that I feel like Liverpool made the bid to almost satisfy the public arena and people watching the whole situation, as well as Isak's people.
Right.
That's why it was so low. That's my kind of overall opinion on it. So yeah, um, it's still very much smoke and mirrors, but yeah, I'm quite uncertain about the situation. And then at the same time, I've got my own theory about what's going on.
Yeah, no, good on you for having your own, thoughts and sticking with it. Really interesting theory. I haven't heard that yet, so it's great to hear it from yourself. And you're probably right. It absolutely wouldn't surprise me. I don't 100% know this, but I assume that Isak hasn't travelled on the preseason tour to South Korea and he stayed back and maybe trained individually. Is that the case? Do you know?
Yeah, it's massive news. He refused to go to South Korea. Well, he refused to go to on tour. Full stop.
Right.
Then he's gone to Real Sociedad.
Yeah, I did see that
Um,
actually. Yeah,
yeah,
trained
so
individually.
he's
Yeah.
to train individually, and so now you got to do both clubs on Newcastle's part. It's Operation in reintegrate Isak back, which is if anybody's ever had a chance to see any of the interviews of players of Newcastle in South Korea, they're holding the line of he's just injured. That's why he hasn't come. We're looking forward to seeing him. They're protecting this man. And if you um, the I think Craig Hope, one of our Northeast journalists, has already said that that there's people that feel that Isak has been left high and dry about Liverpool. That they've kind of there's a feeling that they lost their bottle because Isak and his agent. A lot of the maneuvering has been done by Isak and his agent. I think Isak's been ill advised. You guys would have felt it obviously with Harry Kane. This won't be a new won't be a new story to you guys. And you have to remember that Isak's 25. He's a man. He's not a baby. But I think this is the first time felt a spotlight to this degree, where everywhere he goes, people are calling him the second, third, first striker in the world. He can be part of Liverpool's dynasty, all this other stuff, and his agents on the phone, intermediaries are on the phone, and so yes, he's stayed away. He's gone to Real Sociedad, Newcastle after the Tottenham game, which we're going to talk about. Are due back in Newcastle for Monday. So, all eyes will be on the Newcastle training ground on Monday to see if the man turns up, and we'll all prepare. They'll all be talk. You'll hear the players and everyone say, "Ah, I hope you're better from your injury." Or, it was great to see you. We're glad that you're rehabilitating. So yeah, it's such an intriguing transfer window, but yeah, that's where we're at the moment with him.
Right, okay. You talk about like Newcastle reportedly winning £150 million. What would you personally accept for him? I know it's hard as a fan and we don't know the ins and outs, but if you were, in Newcastle, maybe a member of the board in the owner's situation, what would be that point where you go, I'd listen to this or even I'd accept this?
No, I'm in line with the board. 150 million plus, not just
Yeah.
150 million. 150 million plus. You have to wait for us to get our two strikers, quality strikers, and if we can't get them, there's no Isak. Like he's on the 3 year contract. He's on the 3 year contract. He's our player, and I don't know if everybody knows that Newcastle have been trying very hard to get strikers, and it hasn't worked out. So he's just got to come back and play for Newcastle. And he shouldn't. It's a privilege to be playing for Newcastle. He's seen a lot. He's seen 2 cup finals and a cup. He's seen 2 Champions League qualifications. He's become a 20+ goal striker. He wasn't that before. He's become world renowned. Some people calling him world class. I don't think he's world class. Not yet, anyway. And it will be a privilege for him to come back and play for the Toon. So, yeah, we look forward to it.
Deep down, I want you to answer this honestly. Do
Yeah.
you believe that he'll be a Liverpool player come the end of the window, September the 1st?
No, I think he'll be a Newcastle player.
He'll be a Newcastle player. Cool. We'll have to see what happens. Tell you what, if Isak does leave, hypothetical, would you rather sign Wissa or Benjamin Sesko? Because they're 2 players that have been linked, haven't they been?
So whoever comes in, I'll turn it around. I know your question. It will be Benjamin Sesko or Whistle with Isak. Newcastle will have 2 to 3 strikers. That is always the plan. And I think the worst thing Liverpool could have done was buy Ekatike. I think had they not bought Ekatike, then this deal would have more likely come through. But in terms of your question, in terms of Wissa and Sesko to partner with Isak, I would have Benjamin Sesko. I think he's a raw talent, but he's got qualities that could see him become a world class player if he has the right coaching. And anybody who knows Eddie Howe, he's the right man to develop a player.
Absolutely.
If you can ask Lewis Hall, Tino Livramento, Joe Linton, Gordon, Isak himself. Yeah. So will be the right place for him.
See, I like Wissa, but for me, it just feels like he's thrown his toys out the pram after one good year. Where Thomas Frank, like Eddie Howe, I think he's a really good man manager, good at getting a lot out of individual players. I think Eddie Howe, don't get me wrong, is another level on that. But I just feel like Wissa's like all these sudden demands here, should be playing Champions League football, should be, kind of at a bigger club. And he's had one season, where he's hit that high level running. But hey ho, we'll have to see what happens with his future.
If you look through Wissa's perspective, I agree with you, Harry, in terms of the outcome, i.e. throwing your toys at the pram, refusing to go training. I really dislike that. He believes he's had in his eyes, he's just seen his mate Mbeumo leave. He's seen other players leave. He's seen the manager leave. And he's seen the set-piece coach become the manager. And that doesn't look good. You're thinking, I'm going to be he's 29 years old. This is a Champions League team that's asking for you. Apparently, he's had a gentleman's agreement. I just hate gentleman's agreement. If it's not on paper, it hasn't happened. But he believes he had a gentleman's agreement for 25 million. Newcastle have bid 10 million above that, so 35 million on 3 occasions. So that's what's kicked him off in terms of like what's happened.
Fair enough.
But if you're Brentford, you're saying, my friend Wissa, have you not seen Mbeumo leave? Have you not seen Norgard leave? Have you not seen Mr. Frank leave? We're in trouble here, and we're going to need you. So, apparently Brentford are looking for another striker, so we'll see. But Wissa's supposed to be a replacement for Callum Wilson. That's the idea for Newcastle. And despite what everybody says, Newcastle do want to play with 2 up front. So even if we get Mr. Sesko and Wissa, the idea is to have both of those guys play up front. Even if we get those 2 guys, if the 150 valuation isn't met, we're not selling Isak.
Either way, I think they'll both be fantastic signings. Whoever you end up with, whoever you keep, I think that is going to be really interesting to see. And I think Wissa is a big upgrade on Callum Wilson. But can I ask you, before we move on from transfer window, we'll go a little bit into pre-season and then eventually the match itself, Tottenham versus Newcastle. How do you think Tottenham's window's gone from an outsider? Obviously, had the whole Morgan Gibbs-White saga, but for a recap, we signed Kudus, we signed Tell permanently, Kota Sakai, and it looks like Yao Polina is going to be the latest one.
So I really like the Paulinho signing for you. I think it's a very Thomas Frank signing. He's building a spine for you. I wish I watched the Arsenal game. I'm going to assume that you saw a more balanced team. Would you say that? Did you see a more balanced team? Would you say that, Harry, in terms of when you attacked, or were you a bit more? Did you still see?
Firstly, in terms of the lineup, we saw a lot stronger lineup compared to that mixing and matching. I think that really showed, and I think we saw really defensively disciplined. But then we looked good on the counter. Could have offered more in attack. Definitely need to spend more money on our attack and go further. But defensively, we were really good.
Yeah, so that's not a surprise at all. And so I like the Paulinho signing, big, tall midfielder, enforcer type, no nonsense. Doesn't want their headlights, the spotlight. Excuse me. And he just wants to get the ball and pass to the guys who have flair. So he's going to add balance when you have your Maddisons or your Kulus in the middle, or even Kudus who can play for the middle, the flair players. And he's just going to give that balance. He's a little bit more disciplined than Basuma, which helps a lot. And he knows how to protect the back line. So I think that's a sign that really impresses me. Kudus as well. I think you needed the attackers that you had before, and I think Brennan Johnson gets a lot of stick, but he's good at what he's good at. And I don't know, was he a top goal scorer last season, or at least quite
I
high up
think
there?
so. Yeah, he
Yeah,
was either joint or he was joint or he won it. I can't remember how it went in the end. It's very tight going into the final day. I've got a feeling that he might have won it.
yeah. So like I know we're still learning about Erdeber, excuse me. He's had an injury, so we haven't seen too much of him. But I always get the feeling that why I like Kudus, because with your other wingers, I always get the feeling that there's something about them that's not very aggressive, not very assertive about them. Apart from Kulusevski, but he doesn't like playing on the wing. He likes to play from in the middle.
Mm.
So I like the Kudus signing. He's going to give you that little bit of attacking bite, I think, and a little bit that oomph that I think you need. I think that'd be really, really good to see. So you're getting those type of players like Kudus, Paulinho. You kept Romero, who I think that's very, very important to see, to keep those type of players. So all in all, is decent. The Morgan Gibbs White one, goodness gracious. I have a, jeez, I think, we're sorry to say, but I think Tottenham tried to cheat the system there. I think, but they made the mistake of hitting the 60 million, whatever the price tag is, right on the knob. You should have at least done 62 million or something like that.
Mm.
And Marinakis, goodness gracious me, the Godfather himself. He's convinced Mr. Morgan Goods Whitefoot to stay in for another year. I do think that there was something in that he was able to keep Morgan Gibbs White like that. But I still like the intent. I like the intent because Morgan Gibbs White, what people forget about Morgan Gibbs White is because he played at Forest, he was having to do a lot of things, attack, defend. So you're not quite sure what he's good at. And I think he's always misprofiled. He's very good across the front three, whether it's defensive midfield, attacking midfield. He's the passer before he's a pass before the assist, or he can be the assist as well. Very very good on the ball resistant, works very very hard on the ball. So you can see what Thomas Frank is looking at, your Paulinhos, your Gibbs Whites, and he just wants to give that control, and he wants to give that control in your midfield, which is what's going to help you not to get countered so easily all the time, and someone that's going to protect your back four. Like he's I can see what he's doing, and he's building that spine. He's going to get it, and so I think you're going to see a better Tottenham for sure coming into this new season.
That's good. Can I ask you, you mentioned Morgan Gibbs White, what do you make of that announcement? Because me, it looks dodgy, done after the game. He's hot and sweaty, he's still got his match shirt on. Apparently, Mariakis has flown in last minute. He stands next to him, arm around his shoulder, and Gibbs White goes, Mr. Mariakis, quite a few times. What do you make of that? Is there any, I don't know, dodginess about it? Some convincing?
He's protecting his club. He's protecting his club. He's asserting himself. I think if you're looking I think that's why if you're a Nottingham Forest fan, you're very calm in terms of uh, your team. They've seen the Langer go, and the Morgan Gibbs White thing would have shaken them a little bit. And Marinak has responded. He's got them back into Europa. If gone from Europa Conference to Europa League as well by um, appealing to I can't remember, was it to UEFA? Was it UEFA he appealed to? So the guy is fighting tooth and nail for his club. That's all I can say. If you're a
Mm.
rival fan, we're gonna banter and say he's held him hostage, and Morgan White looks edgy as whatever. But the man is back in his club, and fair play to him.
I can't stand it, but you're absolutely right. He has the best interest of Forest, and he'll do anything to win that guy. I think a bit of a shady history, both at Forest and before coming to the Premier League. But
wouldn't you want to have seen Levy to do? It's not. I'm not saying do look mafioso style around his players, but to have that at least the intent of the interest of the club come before
yes,
anything.
yeah, I don't think he has that of Mariakis. But I will say is Levy will step in and do some clever things, like they get the Pedro Porro deal done, or I don't know. It do occasionally rock up.
Okay.
Like Paulinho, I think we've done really well to get a little buy clause in. He's a very good businessman. So what Levy often do is if a deal's about to fall through, or like with Porro, it was transfer deadline day, time was ticking, but half an hour to go, and apparently he stepped in. Well, there's videos and pictures of him flying over himself. He went there last minute and apparently sealed the deal. So I think he's a bit of like a last minute kind of man, but he was still the dream of Spurs fans that he'd step away from the football side. You know, Scott Munn appointed, Johan Langer, but very quickly their roles have changed. Scott Munn's gone, Johan Langer is doing a little bit less, a bit more this season, but I don't think Levy's really stepped back. But you're absolutely right with Mariakis. I think frustrating for rival fans. If you're a Forest fan, you absolutely love it. But if you're fans of, in particular at the moment, Crystal Palace, Tottenham, and there'll be other clubs, you'll be proper annoyed. I mean, the officials must be thinking, God, we've got deal with him again. I've just never seen quite an owner get so involved, but be on the pitch after the official, after your manager. It's something different, but hey ho, he's a bold owner. But we move on now to pre-season. Mm-hmm. How do you feel it's gone overall so far for you?
Yeah, we haven't won a game yet, but it's pre-season. We haven't won a game, so I don't look at the. I try to not to. I always say when we win, we're having a great preseason. But the balance is always to remember that it is preseason, and players are not going to give the extra 5% that we need, and we see that in the games. Obviously, we saw the Arsenal Tottenham one was a little bit different. I saw Arsenal fans making excuses saying, you can tell they were about to leave, that they was about to leave and stuff like that. Like, okay. But it's good to see if you're a Tottenham fan that edginess is there already. Like, I feel like there's a thing where they've got it in their mind that last season wasn't us. We're going to show this season who we are. And you've got the right coach to harness that energy. So I have high expectations. The only thing, and it's going to sound backwards, but it's true, is that you qualify for the Champions League because you're going to have more games. I almost kind of foresee that you will start quite sharply, quite well, but once the games kick in, and I think Frank's inexperience in that might tell. But obviously, the transfer window isn't closed yet, and you might have a lot more depth than I anticipate. I think once we look at your squad properly, then you might have a lot more depth. But I feel like if you didn't have Champions League, for instance, even if it was in the Conference League, for instance, where you can just literally play academy players and stuff, I think Tottenham would have been like right there fighting top four and stuff like that under Frank. I really have a high view of Frank, and I think he can really harness the attacking style and play that you have, but also be balanced in your defensive work and have the right characters. Like I really like Paulinho. I like what Thomas Frank is seeing in that and what he's trying to do. So, yeah, but talking about our preseason, so in terms of our preseason, I think it's a lot more fitness and runouts. We're just glad to be in Singapore and Korea. And I think last year we played you guys as well in Australia. Like that was the game after the game, the Premier League finished. Look,
that's bonkers.
That was crazy. But I was just glad to be invited. I mean, like before, we were struggling to get preseason games against York City and stuff like that. So we're traveling around the world now, international mags. So I think we're just enjoying that. I think what I'm hoping to see in the final, I'm going to be going to a preseason game next 2 weeks' time. We've got the Stella Cup at our ground. I can't remember who we're playing. I want to say it's a Spanish team or something. I can't remember who we're playing. So what I'm hoping to see is now, together with the performances, the results picking up, and seeing more kind of dominating, controlling performances. I'm really curious to see how Ramsdale does and how we play out at the back and stuff like that. So yeah,
it's good pre-season for that reasons. I think you can't touch on it and maybe even answered it. Sorry if you have. I'm going to ask you anyway. Mm-hmm. Do you say that results matter at this stage, or is it solely about performances? You talk about you want to see the results coincide with those performances. What about right now, like in particular in this game? Is it more the performance you're looking for?
Yeah, there's always a balance, isn't it, in these things? Mm. I think I'm more looking for the performance because it's always difficult to tell. And I have to you have to watch before they make a substitute. So if because like I think against our last game, I can't remember the Korean side we played. Like after 60 minutes, oh no, before that game against Arsenal, we played Arsenal as well. After 60 minutes, we made 11 changes. So yes, the scoreline was 1-0, but we made 11 changes after 60 minutes. So I'm looking at the performance in that period of time, which was a good performance. So I'm looking at in those ends. But if as the last, especially the last 2 or 3 games you got to go, and we're playing more and more our first team, for instance, for longer periods of times, and you're not quite seeing the attack connecting, and you're seeing the same defensive frailties and stuff like that, you do worry. Um, but in general, it's about the performance, it's about the fitness, and you also try not to get quite carried that way. Because if Tottenham start smashing teams 5-0, 5-0, 5-0, and all kind of thing is great, but when the Premier League season hits, like that is kind of out the window. But it's still nice to go in. It would be nice to go in on the back of wins overall. So quite a winding answer. Overall performance, but I'd like to see more results towards the last 2 or 3 preseason games.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Who do you say has been your standout in pre-season? You give you more than one, or anyone that maybe surprised you?
It's always Bruno Gomes. He's been fantastic. He was. I didn't pick him to be our first best player last season, but he was a close second. I should have probably picked him up to be our first best player. I think I picked Isak, ironically. But he's been very, very good this preseason. He's just a special player for us, honestly. In terms of any other performers, generally okay from Livramento. Tonali's been okay. We had the young kid Asola playing. He hasn't. He's struggled a bit in terms of front of goal, but he's full of running and doing his best. Alanga's been very good for us. He seems to have caught the system and our pattern play really, really well. So I think if you're talking about surprises, I think it's that. Like it's interesting how quickly he's settled into our squad and what he's doing. So yeah, I think Elanga's a surprise package, and Bruno is the kind of overall outstanding performer.
I hate to ask it, but has anyone disappointed you or maybe not lived up to the standard? It could be Isak, who hasn't been involved.
Yeah, that's a good start. The guy that hasn't turned up and gone on the plane,
Yeah.
I think that's the overall one, because it just puts a big old shade on the team and the club, and Eddie Howe's been having to hold all of it together. But so that'll be the first person. But in terms of like overall team performance, probably Pope. I don't know if you saw, he had like an error that was insane watching that. It's like, oh man.
I did see.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's knocked him a little bit. That's knocked him a little bit. How whether he wants to get that ball playing goalkeeper that's going to play high and sweep and even almost become an outfield player, and he was prepared to do that with Pope, even though Pope's not good at it. He's a good sweeper keeper, but not the best. I think those kind of performances then triggered the whole thing. Like, yeah, we need to push the button on Ramsdale and do something about it. So I think Pope, but he does. He always comes back. He's had this type of performance before. Then he comes back and he becomes outstanding for us. So yeah, probably Pope's the one that I would say hasn't been great.
Okay. I mean, you talked about Ramsdale potentially being at number one. Do you actually see that happening, or for now, do you see it as Pope 1, Ramsdale 2, but dependent on how Ramsdale does, maybe in these remaining preseason games?
So Howe's a very patient manager, and what that means is that no player typically walks into the team, but if he wants, he's been wanting to play this way for a very long time in terms of having a ball playing goalkeeper. So it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, Ramsdale's on his way to career now. Would he start the game? If he does start the game, that shows me just how much Eddie Howe wants to see this. It's very unlike him. I know it's pre-season, but it's very unlike him. But he probably might otherwise come on in maybe the second half or the next 20, 30 minutes type of thing. So, yeah, I think Ramsdale might play essentially. Remind me of your question again.
Oh God, question. Yeah, about number one. Who you think
Yeah,
will
yeah. So I
be
think for the season,
long term?
yeah, I think long
Yeah,
term it will definitely be Ramsdale. It will definitely be Ramsdale.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting because kind of outside of Newcastle, some fans are like, why is Rams, why are they going for someone who's going to sit on their bench? But I was just thinking to myself, I think that eventually the plan will surely be, considering Eddie Howe worked with Rams out at Bournemouth, that long-term solution. So I just wanted to clarify with you, and it's interesting to hear. So I appreciate that. Before we get onto the game, last thing I want to touch on is a little teaser going into the season. We'll get onto some end of season predictions later, but I just want to touch and dive into it. Firstly, how are you feeling about the new season, which is nearly upon us already to come around really quickly? And what are your hopes and expectations?
Yeah, I'm feeling excited for the new season. I think it's going to be ultra competitive. So many teams, particularly the top four, top five teams, have become really stacked in depth. So the top four teams are likely to be off to a flyer. And if we've got that Champions League spot for fifth, it's going to be a big old battle, I think, between ourselves, Tottenham, Man United, probably one other team that I can't think of at the moment for that fifth spot. It's going to be ultra competitive in that way. In terms of my hopes, is that we consolidate our position um, in the top five area at least, and that we continue in terms of domestic cups, excuse me, in semi-finals and finals. That's kind of my expectation. And if we can qualify from at least from the group stage of the Champions League, that would be superb.
Okay, thank you very much. And last but not least on this, anything you want Eddie Howe to change tactically that maybe, in your opinion, hindered your success last season?
No, I think he's. I know he gets a lot of stick, but he's been absolutely class for us tactically. We had to play very practical last season because of the lack of players we had. So we had essentially Eddie Howe had 15 players who played 1,000 minutes and more. So that's roughly 10
Wow.
games. Yeah, so that's roughly 10 games. That's not a lot. So you had to have a very practical squad in terms of what we did and how we worked. We defended back in numbers and counter attack. We chose when to kind of press and stuff like that. So very, very practical, but it got us over the line. But I think there's a way that Eddie Howe really, really wants to play, which is front footed and intense. But you can only do that if you've got a squad with depth, which he's been dying to get. And you need a ball player and goalkeeper to do that. And you need a target man up front to be able to kind of pull that off. So Isak isn't a target man. He's a complete forward who can be a target man, but he's not like like a target man in the shape of, I can't think of a person straight away, like a Sheshko, essentially. And so that ultimately that's what Eddie Howe wants to build, and I like it. I think it is a team. It is a team, a way of playing that could yield a lot of results in terms of winning trophies.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's go on to the game itself. Really interesting discussion, though. Firstly, playing in South Korea, where Heung-min Son, our player, is seen as pretty much a national icon. Do you think that atmosphere might give Spurs a unique edge in this fixture?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, he's very much loved and respected. He's going to have a lot of motivation to do well. It'll be interesting to see how you guys recruit and recover from your game against Arsenal, because that was very intense. I think you put a lot of emotion and strength into that. So I expect Tottenham, especially in the first 20, 25 minutes, maybe the first half even, to be very, very intense and working hard. And I expect us to also counter that. And so I expect like a midfield battle of a sorts going on. But so I think you'll probably have the edge. It'll probably feel like a home game for you guys as well. So you probably have the edge in that way.
No, I agree with you on that. Thank you. How do you feel confidence-wise going into it?
You know, I'm relaxed about it. It's not like it's a Premier League game type of thing. So the main thing I just want to see is a performance. Obviously, I would like to get a win, but I'm not as nervous I am for Premier League games. There's nothing like behind it for me type of thing. There's certain players I want to play. I want to see play. I mean, if I could get Ramsdale to play in the first starting off, I don't think he will, but because I just need to see what it looks like to have a goalkeeper that's good with his feet, essentially. So yeah, I'm not nervous in that way. I'm pretty relaxed.
Okay, that's what you want. That's what you want. Do you think Eddie Howe will maybe see this as another fitness exercise, or maybe a tactical test, or an opportunity to make a statement against the Big Six club going into the season?
No, I think probably a bit of all of those things. So in terms of like performance, yes. Run out, yes. It'd be great to get a result, but he won't be dying for it. He'll probably the main thing is to get the whole team get their minutes in their legs, get their fitness up. He probably have some tactical things that he wants to try, that he will use as well. He'll have players that he wants to use because we've got a Korean player of our own as well, an 18-year-old whose name I can't pronounce it, so I'm not going to try. But he had a very good 10-minute cameo against the Korean team that we played last time. So you might see him come on, and you might see the passing of baton from Human Son to this young man as well. So that'll be interesting.
That would be nice to see. Do you know, I forgot about that because I think you signed at a very similar time. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that we signed. Was it Kota Takai of Japan? No, it might have been Yamin Hook. It's one or the other that we've signed. Obviously, I know one Yamin Hook's, South Korean and Takai is Japanese, but one of them we signed. It was a very similar time because I remember thinking, "Oh, this is really good for Asian football." Any Spurs players you fear? Ones that you think could cause you problems in this game? I absolutely agree with you. It's not a Premier League match. You don't need to look into this in great detail, but on the game itself, like who could cause you the most problems? Would it be Kudus maybe that we've spoken about?
Yeah, possibly Kudus. The main person I always feel when we play uh, Tottenham is the one that's not going to play. That's Kulusevski. But
Yeah.
I've seen that Papisar is having a good turn in form, so we need to be up for it in midfield. So that'll be a worry if we don't get that. Um, how's is Solanke? I think the main thing would be the main threat probably would be from Kudos, but also what you have in midfield with Papisar. I think also because you've got really good centre backs in terms of Romero and Van der Ven on the ball, and they allow you to. I think they allow you to dominate really really well. And because we've only got a young Osola up front, who's very raw and hasn't scored a goal yet. I think he'll struggle, and he needs to keep running. He needs to keep them on edge and kind of pushing back. But it'll be difficult. So I think your centre backs, your midfielder and Papi Sarr, and Kudos will be probably the main threats.
Okay, and kind of the flip question of that, who do you think that can cause us problems, us being Tottenham, from you guys?
Yeah, so Elanga's been playing really well down the right side, and Gordon, he's enjoying his football. He's had an interview talking about how much he's enjoying it, and I've seen it in his play.
I saw that. It's
Yeah,
good.
so he's doing that. I think our midfield trio will be there in Joe Linton, Tonali, and Bruno. I wouldn't be surprised if they haven't started all three yet before. They may do that for this game, so that'll be the main kind of guys there. Livramento and Hall isn't quite ready, but Livramento down the right side would also be a threat. So yeah, we've got a few people. But I'm a bit worried about Osola in terms of like he how he's going to do. I'm not worried. I need to see. He needs to like stand up and see. We're going to see what his qualities are against really quality centre backs.
Okay, thank you very much. How do you think he'll line up?
Oh, it's difficult.
It's hard in pre-season, isn't it? I know we're getting closer to like more
Yeah, yeah,
set
yeah.
lineups, but it's still difficult.
No, it is. I mean, we started against probably similar-ish to how we started against the Korean side and others. So you have Osolo in the middle, Gordon down the left, Elanga down the right. I think you will get the trio of Bruno, Tonali, and Joe Linton. On the left, you probably there's a young player that we've got. I forgot his name now. I'll come back to him. On the right, Livramento probably, and then Jamal Lascelles has been playing a lot. So you might get Jamal
Okay.
Lascelles, Jamal Lascelles and Byrne, and I still can't remember the young man on the left, but he's been decent. So there's a young like academy player. He's not academy now. He's got loaned out to Bolton and he came back now.
Right.
To look out for. He's pretty Alex Murphy. That's it. That's probably gonna play instead of Target.
Nice. That's good to hear. Let's tell you what. I want to ask you this: do you see the kinds of like these international matches, I suppose, as a good opportunity for younger players or fringe players to make a statement? And who are your kind of fringe players, would you say, on the cusp of getting into that first team?
Oh, we've got a young man in midfield by the name of Hearns. I expected him to leave actually, but he's stayed at the team. So maybe Howe has seen something in him. If he comes on, it'll be interesting to see how he does. We have a young player that's joined the team as well called Anthony Munda. He's in the under 18s. I really, really like him. He kind of reminds me of a Kobe Mainu, except for he's a little bit, I think he's going to be a little bit taller, a little bit more powerful in build. I'm quite excited about him. There's another kid called Alfie Harrison who plays in the midfield. He's a former Man City Academy player. He's been looked at possibly starting for Newcastle in the midfield. The other player, obviously, that you would have known is Lewis Miley, who's now 19, 20 years old. He played with us in our first team when he was 17. He had an injury.
Yeah.
And he wasn't really seen last year, but this year he's been that reminds us. So instead of so if we don't get the trio, you might see Miley maybe instead of Joe Linton, for instance, kind of playing on the right side type of thing. But yeah, so Miley's highly expected to be like a key rotational player this season as well. He's 19 years old. He's like 6'2", 6'3", somewhere a cross between a Carrick and a Lampard in his style of play, I think. So you might see him, yeah.
Okay, we could see him. Great that he's recovered now from his injury.
Yeah.
Would you rather lose this game with a great performance, we spoke about performances, or nick a scrappy win if you had to choose between the two?
Oh, that's a great question. Is a scrappy win like a poor performance? Like, is that what you're saying? Like,
yeah, ideally.
I'd never like to lose though.
It's hard.
It's hard. It is hard. I'm gonna say good performance. I can't believe I'm advocating the loss, but I think a good performance will be important.
I think it hurts, but I'm going to agree with you even from a Tottenham point of view. I think different with the North London derby we've just played in, because that is
you had
result.
to.
Performance is so
Yeah.
poor, but
Yeah,
even though
yeah.
it's a friendly, it's a derby, isn't it?
You had to.
But
Yeah.
with this, it's about the performance, because you can go, okay, result, what do we change? Do we go to the transfer market, or do we tweak a couple of things? But if you sat there thinking, how did we win that? Then, you've got a little bit of a problem. That's what happened under Nuno, going in, not necessarily pre-season, but going into the season. He was scraping 1-0. So we're like, how did we do this? And very quickly, the London derbies come in, all the tough games, you were one of them, and we just absolutely went collapse. And the performance was exactly the same. It's just a result. So, it is the performance, isn't it? But can I ask you your score prediction in this game? Again, really hard to predict.
We haven't been scoring. I never like to predict a loss, honestly.
And we've been tight defensively as well, so it might be hard for you to score, actually.
It might be. I probably see a Tottenham victory. I can't think of a scoreline. 2-1, 2-0 scoreline.
I was thinking like a 1-0 Spurs. I think that we look better going forward with Kudus in transitions. We look better from set pieces, but I still think we're lacking a lot of quality there.
Is Solanke playing?
I don't know. He wasn't in the squad for Arsenal. Apparently, it was too soon for him. He very most would be the bench. He won't start, I wouldn't have thought.
So
who's only be a few minutes.
So is it Richarlison that's playing up front?
Unfortunately,
Okay.
yeah.
He was man of the match, wasn't he?
Um, somehow, apparently, that's what he's claiming
Okay.
anyway. Yeah, apparently he was invisible in the game. I only saw a little bit of it,
No.
but
I
no,
don't.
he
I
might do
saw
all right under Frank.
I saw Sar's goal, which was impressive.
Yes, that was
That
good,
was
wasn't
good to see. That was good to see. Yeah.
it? Very nice indeed. Let's end then with some end of season predictions. Start with your club, Newcastle. Where do you think you'll finish in the league and why? If you had to decide now.
Yeah. So I always do it on points. It helps me to be a little bit more accurate. So we finished on 66 points. I expected us to get 60. My expectation and my hope, and obviously that's based on the transfer window, so it's a rough estimate. I can't give like a prediction in terms of what I think will happen, but my expectation or my hope is that we'll break the 70-point barrier.
So an improvement on last season. That's always the aim.
Yeah. How about
Nice one.
yourself?
For Newcastle or for
No,
us?
for yourselves.
It's tough. I would say the aim for Thomas Frank is to get back in the top 6, realistically, considering he got Champions League as well. That you're absolutely spot on. If we had Europa League or no Europe at all, or if it be the Conference League, whatever, then we've gone, okay, top 4, top 5 is more realistic. But the fact with Champions League to juggle as well, and the way Frank speaks, and the way the statement was when they sacked Andrew, again, when they appointed Frank, it's all about juggling all the competitions. For me, you can't get to the latter stages of all of them. Well, also, in my opinion anyway, with this squad currently, also getting Champions League football. So I'd say 6th or 7th with the aim around top 6. But for you guys, I agree with yours. I think points-wise, I was thinking, I had in my head, because I actually got it here, the tables. I've got in brackets 70 to 73 points for Newcastle. So I don't know where that would leave you necessarily, but I think I'll write that down. So
A lot of that hinges on Isak staying probably. So if Isak stays and we add a Wissa or a Sheshko, then all of a sudden our front three look very good and our depth is very good. So you probably have Isak, Gordon, and Langer. Then you'll have Barnes, Wissa, or Sheshko,
that's
and
strong.
Murphy. That's strong. So I'll be happy with that. Our midfield three. I'd love to get another midfielder because our depth isn't the greatest. Miley's up and coming, but Joe Willock is he's underperforming for a while now, and there's a concern there for me. So and we need there's a few bits that I think we need to improve on. But yeah, there's what do I say? There's the ingredients for something good. There's certain ingredients for something good there.
Hopefully a busy rest of the window now until it closes
Yes.
for both of our clubs.
Yes.
But we won. But how do you rate Tottenham's chances this season under Thomas Frank? And where do you think we will finish in the Premier League?
Very highly. Very, very highly. I think Tottenham he would have been it's hard because he wouldn't have been, if you had someone of Thomas Frank's caliber now, after Pochettino, for instance, I think he would have carried on the where you guys were heading to, in my opinion, because he just needed someone just to harness that.
Agree.
I think he's going to, when I say bring back, he's going to bring back, but also change or evolve a little bit your identity. So he's now going to have the tools to be attacking, but he's going to add that balance and he's going to add that spine. I think he wants to be attacking, and he's had to be very practical throughout his career because of what he's done. Like, so I kind of see him like I see Howe, and so he's going to have a manager that's going to have that resilience about him. So if Tottenham go 1-0 down in games, I don't think you're going to fold. I think you'll be resilient. I think you'll be looking to make changes, and I think you'll fight to get draws or wins from those games. So I think you'll win a lot more. Your defense will improve. I think you'll build on that confidence as well. So I think Thomas Frank is a very, very shrewd appointment. I think we're going to see the best of that possibly the season after next, unless he really pulls a blinder this season. But I think the season after next, I think people are going to see the best of Tottenham.
Absolutely hope you're right, and I do believe as well. I think it's really exciting. frustrated with the way it ended with Ange in terms of I don't like the way the club went about it, and I think that he achieved something quite special that maybe he doesn't get the credit for today. However, I'm really happy with the appointment. I was really worried that the club took away that special kind of feeling after winning the Europa League. I still think they have. That appointment of Thomas Frank has kind of softened the blow of losing someone, I suppose, and who definitely had his faults, but brought success back for the first time in 17 years. First European trophy in 41 years. Thomas Frank looks like a really good appointment.
Do you think, there's a question for you, I've been asking any Tottenham fans about this. So I'm thinking about Levy. Do you think Levy is growing in terms of, he made the mistake of sacking Mourinho before that cup final. And I think he had it in his mind when Mange was when you guys were having a very bad season in the league, but you were still in the cups. And he hung on to Ange because he stayed in the cups. The Levy we know would have sacked Ange a long time ago before that happened.
Yeah.
But because you're doing well in the cup, he said, okay, let me see this ride out. But he also saw it ride out. And what he said was, but I don't want that. I don't think this is a guy that can do well in the leagues themselves. So he's had 2 seasons with you guys, hasn't he? And I think that's maybe, is it possibly enough of a sample size to say, okay, great in the cup. I don't know if we can repeat that again, though. And I don't fancy fighting in relegation. Or do you think, I guess my main thing is, has Levy grown up? Because I feel like it's a decisive decision. I'm not saying it's whether I agree with it or not, but I feel like it's hard to make a decision like that when you're winning, right? If you're losing, it's just sack the player, it's sack the manager. But if you've won a cup or you've done something, but then you're making a major change, sometimes you can get caught up in the hype of it, but he didn't. So I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I get you. I appreciate the question. To me, I think that he now realises it was a mistake to go to Mourinho and Conte, at least going to both of them anyway, after Pochettino. I think if he, looking back, could choose, I don't think he'd deep down admit it, because he's not someone who likes to go back in things. I think he wouldn't have got rid of Pochettino, and I don't think he would have gone. Maybe he has no regrets. He tried going for a serial winner, but I don't think two. I think he should have realised, I think he know deep down himself that Mourinho didn't work. We shouldn't have gone for Conte, or we shouldn't have gone for Mourinho and just gone for Conte. It shouldn't have been a situation of both for me. Try once, it doesn't work. That's the way I look at it. I think it's a possibility he is changing. Like you said, giving Ange that chance. I mean, the Spurs fans, we're totally honest with you. If I put my love to Ange aside, I'm surprised he stayed in the job as long as he did, considering where we were in the league. At the same time, the other part of me goes, this is Levy all over. You sack someone who's delivered and won that trophy. We sacked Pochettino, got us to a Champions League final. We sacked Jose Mourinho, got us to a League Cup final. We sacked Andrew, delivered, got over the line. It just feels like Daniel Levy's Tottenham is, if Ange Postecoglou got us 4th, 5th, even probably 6th or 7th this season with all the places in Europe, but didn't win anything, he'd still be in the job. And I just think to myself, is that right? And we wonder why we've got this big trophy drought. When you're sacking managers that win that trophy, I know why he's doing it, but part of me does think he's changing a little bit. I think he's got this appointment right. And deep down, mate, I do believe he has the best interest of the club. I think he's a really good businessman. I just think when it comes to football, he just can't help but step in. He's not that patient guy. He's got to, it's almost like Chelsea. So we have been, for example, under Roman Abramovich, or Watford's another example outside the Premier League that is constantly sacking managers. But the difference is, compared with us with Chelsea or other clubs, we don't give the managers the back-in terms of the money all the time. So Chelsea could afford to do that. It's frustrating if you go to Chelsea, it'll be Graham Potter, Pochettino, whoever it may be, but they're going to get millions and millions thrown at them. Maresca, if it goes downhill, even with a new owner, it could go very quickly and be sacked by Bowley as soon as, the first international break. But the difference is he's got that money in spenders. He's been given more of a chance. So I'm waffling here, but in theory, I think that Daniel Levy is changing, but I still think that he's always going to be involved in that football side. And I still think some things he's not going to quite learn from, like haggling over little deals. Look at Morgan Gibbs-White. I totally agree with you. I think Forest, I'm frustrated the way they handled it. I can understand why they did for their point of view. But why didn't we just, when the deal stalled for 2-3 weeks, felt like forever, felt like months. Why don't we just pay that extra compensation? All that could have happened, and Mariakis and Forest said no, and we walk away and move on. But our whole transfer window halted over one thing, because it would have been Levy, like hardball, a bit egotistical. We just say, let's wait, let's be patient. If we really wanted him, we were serious. For me, we get the deal done and pay more. But that's just how I feel. But I really appreciate the question.
I feel like I stepped on a landmine there.
I'll let it all go then. That's how I feel. I don't often vent how I feel, especially on
No,
it.
no,
But I
good.
really
It's
do
good.
appreciate it. So he frustrates me, the guy, but I believe he does have the best intentions of the club. But we get back to the last couple of questions. Firstly, how far do you think Spurs will go in the Champions League this year? I mean, it's exciting from a Spurs fan point of view to be in it, but realistically, what is what can we do? Can we get out of the league phase now?
When was the last time you were in the Champions League before? It's been 2 seasons now.
Yeah, I want to say yeah. Oh God, you're
Has it
testing
been
me.
2 seasons or 3 seasons?
Might be longer, It feels like forever, but it's probably been no more than 2-3
So
years.
Tottenham's a bit like that guy because you was like, I don't know, you went to the Champions League 10 times in a row, 10 for like 10 years straight, I think. So you're kind of like that guy who was disciplined and going to the gym straight, had the 6-pack going on, everything like that, but then fell off for a couple sessions, and now he's got to come back in. And there might be a little bit of muscle memory that might kick in certain games, but it's still going to be trying. And I like the fact that I think you kind of alluded to that. So me personally, I like the fact that Tottenham will go for every competition because I think Newcastle doing this because that's the only way to build a elite team. Yes, you're going to suffer and people are going to say prioritize this, prioritize that. You end up prioritize not winning anything. So I think if you're going to be an elite club, you're going to have to create a way of always kind of competing for trophies for the Champions League. So I wouldn't be surprised if you got into the second phase. At the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if you didn't. Kind of like without, well, I have a little bit more thing for us only because we've still got the same players that were in the Champions League last time. And the format's changed. Like it's got this league table thing. I'm still got to learn it, to be honest, but it
What do you
looks
make
more
of
fun.
it?
I really like it. So I like because now we're getting to see just how good Real Madrid really are.
Yeah, that's true.
How you like a league table, baby? No more like these these group stages of 4 teams, and most of them are like from like some unknown town or
Yeah,
village.
Man City get Shakhtar Donetsk and someone we've never heard of every time. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Now you've got to get in the mud with all of us, and we're gonna see who you are. So I kind of like it, and you've seen a lot more kind of like there's been a lot more like good games and with teams and that have been involved. I like they've essentially turned the Super League into the Champions League. They've just integrated into that. We had that whole fight about obviously the Super League. They just created the Champions League. That's the new Super League essentially, and it's just working out that way. So I like the format, and I wouldn't be surprised if Tottenham get through to the second phase for the league table, but unless you get more players, and I'm kind of making an assumption, Harry. I don't know if do you think you have depth at the moment, or do you think you could certainly do with a lot more?
Depends on what like kind of position, if I'm honest with you. Because
Okay.
midfield, I think get Paulinho through the door. We have both quality and depth. I think centre back wise the same, goalkeeping wise the same if we keep hold of Kinski. But then what I do worry is our only fit left back in pre-season is Ben Davis. So full back cover is like literally non-existent. It's just be a Doggy and Davis, even when the Doggy is fit. And no disrespect to Davis, but I don't want to have to be relying on him. Attacking positions, depth, 100%. Quality, not so much. It really varies. Midfield is a massive tick. Centre back's massive tick. But in terms of what we need for the rest of the window, in my opinion anyway, is when I say fullback cover, ideally left back. Let's say left back cover. And when I say cover, I don't want someone to be second string to a Doggy. I'd want us to be serious. Hopefully someone like a Robinson who could offer serious competition for a Doggy. That's the aim. But anyone at this point is better than nothing. Midfield is a massive tick. Of course, a number 10 would be nice because we didn't get Gibbs White, but that's just a luxury. But in my eyes, we sell Son. So I'm thinking a left winger. So just, for me now, it would be a left winger and a left back. Anything else is a bonus. In an ideal world, we sell Richarlison for me. We sign a striker like Wissa. Don't think that's going to happen. Again, an ideal world, we sell Son. We bring in a top left winger. I'm quite sure it would be. Maybe it'd be a Xavi Simons. Again, unlikely. But left back is my priority. So answering your question, I think it really depends. It definitely got the depth in most positions apart from left back. And quality's coming. It's coming.
Okay. Yeah, so maybe a higher chance of getting through to the second phase, really, of the Champions League, as well. And you think you'll compete for the domestic cups as well?
I hope so. If I'm honest with you, I don't think we'll win anything, but I think we'll be able to successfully juggle all of them. Like, let's say I think we get to something like quarterfinals of the League Cup, and again FA Cup, which is about the final 3 or 4 rounds. I don't think there's going to be hopefully any that we're knocked out in round 3, 4, or even 5, which is positive. So I'm honest with you, I think we get to the knockouts of the Champions League, whatever they call it now, and I think so we'll be able to juggle all these things, but I'd rather just go for one and win it rather than juggle them all. I get that you've got a bigger club that way. I totally understand that. But for me, it's not all about trophies, don't get me wrong. But you've got a club that hardly ever wins trophies. And then, we act like that when we win a trophy. But hey-ho. Hey, don't get me started again. I'm not going to go off on one. We'll be here all night and you really don't want that. Final couple of questions to end. Firstly, who do you think's under more pressure this season? This is the last minute question I thought of before coming on. Newcastle or Tottenham?
In what regard?
Like, in terms of going into the season, like, who's the pressure on the most? I suppose, tell you what, let me flip this question to the manager. Who's under more pressure this season? Eddie Howe or Thomas Frank? Pressure to deliver.
Yeah, so with Eddie Howe, it depends how the transfer window finishes.
I was just going to say to you, it depends on the window, doesn't it?
It depends on the window, because at the moment he's the guy that's keeping the ship together. Like, it's we had our sporting director left 2 days into the transfer window. That's not his fault. Our CEO, God bless him, he got blood cancer. So they had that situation there. The previous sporting director betrayed us and was talking to Man United while he's working with us. But as Eddie Howe has been consistent through the whole time. And he's essentially been doing miracles, getting us into the Champions League in the first place. So if I'm the owner, I'm forever grateful to Eddie Howe. Now, the pressure is still on to perform and do well, but I know that I need to give him. We need to get players over the line for this man. He deserves that. We've got Elanga, we've got Ramsdale, but we still need 3 or 4 players, and we need to keep Isak. So at the moment, the pressure is on the owners. If we keep Isak and we get another forward and we get another centre back and midfielders, and he essentially gets what he needs, and I can sit here and say, "Oh, Harry, we've got all the players that we needed." Regardless of what's gone on before, there'll be huge pressure on him to perform. I would like to think for Frank that Tottenham will extend the grace period for him and give him the year to that's the thing to do that. I'd like to think that, and you'd have the
He's hope.
And you'd have the Champions League as well to keep you guys going as well. It's going to be a crazy year for Tottenham. It's a funny way. There's pressure for both teams to perform, but I also think because of almost extenuating circumstances, I think Frank's under a little bit less pressure because it's his first year, unless it's really horrible in the first 10 games. But I don't think it will be. I just don't think it will be. I think he'll be very good in the league. So that's kind of my overall kind of impression. There's probably a little bit more pressure on Howe, but it's not to the level of Arteta, I think, for instance, and others. Because I just think with Howe, he's been, like I said, our infrastructure has been all over the place, and Howe's been the one consistent at the moment. But it really depends on the transfer window at this moment in time.
Big fan of Eddie Howe. I think he's underrated and disrespected in the wider football world, let's just say. I highly rate him. Done a good job.
Yeah, absolutely.
The last question I want to end with before I let you go is, do you think either Tottenham or Newcastle, or somehow both, will win a trophy this season?
Yeah, why not? Absolutely. We did it last season, and there's no reason why we can't do it this season. And I think we've got to have a mentality as fans and as a team. I don't mean an arrogance. I mean a mentality of winning trophies. Yes, that should be something that we're aiming to do and are doing essentially, because I think it helps. Because I think from a Newcastle perspective, like I get always consistently asked about, like they always say, why should, for instance, Isak stay? Are you really going to win anything? Are you really going to win anything? Yeah, like why shouldn't we? Because we're Newcastle, we can't win. We just win a trophy when we didn't spend any money for last transfer window. So I don't accept that. I think that we should always go into the seasons expecting to win trophies. Like I said, not in an arrogant way, but you got to have an expectation to win trophies. You've got to have an expectation to compete for the highest honors and for the highest spot. Your players should, because the players will feel that. The players will feel that you're not really expecting anything, and it will show in their play. It will show in their play, I think. So yes, I think we can win trophies. We can continue winning that. Why shouldn't we not? And I think especially we would have caught the bug from last time. Now we know how to, our current teams know how to win trophies, put it that way. So let's continue. Let's see what we can do.
What about Tottenham, do you think? No, too soon for Frank?
I think both teams, I think you can win. I think
Yeah?
I think you've got more chances of continuing to win trophies with Frank because he's going to have that balanced approach. I think he will take the League Cups and the FA Cup seriously.
Yeah.
And he'll know how important it is to kind of be involved in those things. So yeah, I think both clubs, I expect us both to be in semi-finals and finals.
That's
to
what
be
we like.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic
I think
stuff.
you got to the semi-final of the League Cup, didn't you?
Yeah, BC, if people forget about that, that's the thing with Ange. We won the Europa League, got to the semi-final of the Carabao Cup. That's competing on more than one front. You start me again. I don't understand it. You start me off again. I could go on for ages. Just bring the Premier League season back is all I'm saying. Do the talking on the pitch instead of me waffling on here. But thank you so much for joining me. I've really, really enjoyed this. Remind people what you do and where they can find you across social media.
Yeah, folks, you can find me on Toon Tactics TV, YouTube, also Toon Tactics TV on X. I forgot what it is on what's they call it, TikTok. But I just search Toon Tactics TV. You'll find me on there. I haven't quite done a show on TikTok, but I'm planning to do it somehow. I gotta pluck up the courage to do it. So yeah, on all those platforms, you guys will find me.
Lovely stuff. Thank you very much for giving me your time. I really enjoyed this. All the best as well for the rest of the season, just after this game and after any games we play each other in the Premier League. But thank you very much. If you're listening on YouTube, please do like and subscribe. If you're listening after on a podcast platform, drop us a follow and a 5-star review. Check out our sponsors in the kitman. Make sure to check out Mr. Toon Tactics, a legend himself, for some Newcastle content. But for now, come you Spurs.